Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Wednesday drawing session with me, Frank Cho. There is my trusty Pentel mechanical pencil with 0.7 HB lead, and my kneaded eraser, and my Bristol board. I always use Bristol board, Strathmore Bristol board with vellum surface. It has that little tooth in the surface that I actually really enjoy. It grips the pencil really nicely. So today we are going to draw a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. Now the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were first created by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. And it was one of my favorite comic books growing up. So it came out in 1984. So it just kind of hit me at that right time when I was a kid. And in general, I love the turtles. Turtles are some of my favorite animals of all time. They're like modern day dinosaurs because I'm a big dinosaur nut. And turtles are just an awesome creature in general. And also, I went to University of Maryland, and their mascot was a terrapin, which is basically a water turtle. So I have the image in my mind of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle kind of like just finished fighting, and so he's kind of like hovering over a dead ninja. Or in this case, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles' enemies were the foot soldiers. So, so a little background history about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was essentially a parody of Frank Miller's Daredevil comic book that came out in the early 80s. And so they essentially kind of took everything from Frank Miller's Daredevil comics and then kind of like twisted it and morphed it into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle characters. So the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles teacher was Splinter, which was a kind of a parody of Daredevil's mentor, Stick. So you have Splinter and Stick, you know. Anyway, and the Daredevil's ninja, the ninjas that Daredevil used to fight were called the hand ninjas. And so in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they call it the foot soldiers, the foot ninjas. So here I am drawing the chest area. So once you kind of have the anatomy down, it's kind of pretty easy. So I kind of wanted the turtle kind of hunched over. And just go from there. Now, when you draw a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, I like to, you have to make it kind of like bubbly. Have all the muscles be kind of really rounded and all that, and kind of compact. Because that's what they are, essentially, this compact animals with with this turtle shell on their back. Like I said, I actually enjoyed drawing turtles, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are some of my favorite characters to draw. So here I am drawing the legs. So as you notice, I actually do, when I sketch, I draw very loosely. It's more of a gesture drawing than anything else. There's a really good book on gesture drawings. It's by George Bridgman. So you want to look into that. It was one of those books that I used to look at as a kid to kind of like, to really loosen my drawings. But you really need to know your anatomy if you want to have George Bridgman's book be any useful to you. You really have to know your anatomy. Again, I can't stress just the anatomy, you know. So here I am drawing the foot ninja. Kind of just got slain, defeated by I guess that's Leonardo. Leonardo has the two swords. So at this point, I decided, you know, there is a the background, you know, that left hand side needed something. So I decided to draw another defeated foot ninja, kind of slumped against a wall. And then the third one, I decided to have him kind of like kind of slumped forward on his face. So there you go. I mean, it's essentially it's all kind of clumping. So I tend to clump the figures. I look at the figure. So I start with the central figure first, the one that has the most focus, and then once I establish the central figure, from there I kind of add the I guess the background figures to kind of support the composition of the central figure. So my composition, it kind of like, once I have the central figure down, the composition of the whole picture kind of gets locked down. I basically build the picture around the central figure. So having fun with the mask. So once I have the general shape down, I kind of figure out where the light source is. And usually the light source comes from, for me, like if it's like a giant clock, from the 12 o'clock position, or like 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock. That tends to be generally my light source. I mean, their head is always so fun to draw. It's like a weird kind of triangle with a kind of nice, very pleasant dome on top. And the shoulder muscles is always fun to draw. You have the three large muscle group in the shoulder. There's three large muscle group, and then from there you kind of build upon it. Drawing the chest, kind of connecting to the shoulder area. And the tricep. So I really learned how to draw the muscles by looking at a lot of bodybuilding magazines when I was a kid. I used to wrestle in high school, and I lifted weights. And so me and my buddies were trying to get bigger, and we used to look at a lot of bodybuilding magazine to you know to grow to grow our muscles, and also to get stronger for our wrestling. So I can't stress enough to really learn your anatomy if you want to be a comic book artist. I mean, there is no kind of rhyme or reason with the shell. There's the shell design. So I tend to, for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, the pattern of the turtle shell, I tend to draw like pentagons, a five-sided figure, and then kind of like stack it. Very similar to drawing the rock pattern on the thing of the Fantastic Four. And then once I have the overall pentagon shape down, I go in and kind of add the ridges, the ridge, the interior ridge, to give it that extra texture on the shell. And the elbows. Now, with a lot of comic book characters, they have so many different variations on the costume, and I've seen plenty where they're wearing shoulder pads. I mean, not shoulder pads, elbow pads and knee pads. But I like to stay more true to their classic look, which they had like kind of like wrappings around their wrist and their lower legs and their knees. As you can see, I erase a lot. So again, I can't stress enough. This is the perfect time to erase. When you're penciling something, if something doesn't look right, then erase it. I mean, there's no shame in erasing things if it doesn't look right. Yeah, so at this point in this pencil stage, don't fall in love with your drawing to a point where you don't want to erase things. Just go ahead and just erase it, and redraw it. Just, don't be scared. Just, mistakes are bound to happen. So if mistakes are made, just erase it and start over. So there I am, kind of correcting the lower leg. And since the leg is kind of bent, the lower part is kind of falls in the shadow area. So this is where I kind of screwed up. I've always thought so. In the beginning, I've always thought that the turtles had three fingers, and a thumb. Same with their feet. I thought they each foot had three toes, but they only have two. So I would always get tripped up on that when I first started drawing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. So there I am using the ruler to draw the sword. It's not a katana. Katana is a large sword. I forgot the Japanese name for the short sword. For the short sword. So since the figure is leaning forward a little bit, the upper body will cast a shadow over the legs. By putting in more shadows, it actually give it a very nice 3D look about the whole figure. Yeah, there's that little edge of the opposite shoulder. And the arm and the forearm. So there I am drawing the hand with 2 fingers and a thumb. Drawing the vein and the bicep, or the bicep and the forearm, which is easy to do. You just basically erase the path of the veins. And then the short Japanese sword. And the ribbon from the mask. Those are always fun to draw. To me, they're kind of like hair that kind of like flows out. The hair and these kind of like ribbons, those are always fun to draw because it gives energy to the overall figure. Now, normally I would flip the paper upside down to draw this figure, but unfortunately the paper is completely, I taped the paper to the desk so that the camera and the paper, so the camera stays completely on the paper at all times. But if I'm just drawing this on my own, if I'm not recording this, I'll be flipping the paper around. Is actually kind of funny. I'm just all over the place when I'm actually drawing, really drawing, instead of doing these drawing demos. So now these dead ninjas are they're actually from Frank Miller's Daredevil run. They're actually they look more like the I didn't really technically draw the foot ninjas. These are the hand ninjas from Frank Miller's run. Man, I drew so many ninjas back in the 80s when I was reading this. When I read Daredevil, Frank Miller's Daredevil, and Teenage Mutant Ninja, I would draw so many ninjas. So there's this the second ninja I'm drawing where he's kind of slumped against the wall. I'm just making it up as I'm drawing. So the great thing about drawing ninjas is since they're dressed in black, um, I don't have to be really accurate with their anatomy. I just you can just black out the entire shape, so long as they have like a general shape, an interesting shape that will aid in the composition. That's all you need. God, ninjas used to be so popular back in the 80s. So again, this is at this point, I would have flipped the paper on inside to draw that third ninja who is slumped forward, face down. But again, they're ninjas, so you just need a general shape to make them look like to fill that space. You don't have to be super accurate with the anatomy, because they're wearing these billowy costume. So there's a lot of forgiveness to the overall shape. Yeah, that third ninja figure kind of really fit that space nicely. So yeah, so when you're drawing, you kind of like, you know, so the trick is to draw a really dynamic central figure, and from there you kind of like build a composition around that figure. So in this case, I drew the three ninjas that kind of like falls around the central figure. So give it a nice little clump. And the way the light and shadow is hitting that central figure, it gives it that the extra focus. So overall, this is a pretty the composition wise, this whole thing turned out pretty good. So I'm just reinforcing the shadows here, just to give it that extra pop and a little bit of a texture to the overall skin of the turtle. So I needed something in the foreground, and then having a dropped weapon was perfect for that little space. Once you start drawing, after a while, you kind of know which area the drawing needs something, for the overall composition. So again, you just play around with it. So if I was inking this, all that ninja stuff, most of that ninja would have been completely, would be just like a giant black mass with some white highlights to accent the fabric folds. Yeah, I really love the pencil stage. Pencil stage is this is where is the part where your imagination just run wild, and you just lay down the lines and the tone, and you're shading everything. Because this is the part that you're just having fun. You're just stretching the figure, laying down shapes to see it fits the overall composition and all that. So I love the pencil stage because this is the part that I let my imagination just run wild. Yeah, that would be cool to have arrows sticking out of that one dead ninja. Kind of give it that extra excitement to the drawing. Again, I'm erasing the head to kind of tighten it up a little bit. So as I said before, if it looks right, it's right. If it looks wrong, then it's wrong. And again, don't be afraid to erase things. Yeah, that's a classic Frank Miller ninja. He had that all of his ninja had that little point at the back of the head. The I guess their hood has that little point. Adding that little drop of blood, splatter of blood to give it that extra detail to make the overall drawing sing. Just reinforcing the dark areas. Just reinforcing the overall shape, the outline of the ninjas. Yeah, this whole piece turned out really nice. I really had a blast drawing this. Since Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are some of my favorite comic book characters to draw. At this point, I'm just kind of cleaning up the drawing a little bit, erasing stray marks and darkening the shadows and the overall outline. Kind of softening some of the shadows. Now start adding a little bit of the blood. It's the small touches that actually make the drawings. kind of rubbing in, you know, the graphite in to soften the figure a little bit. There I am reinforcing the outline. Yeah, the whole thing took 50 minutes to draw, and I had an absolute blast. And this is one of my favorite sketches I've done on my channel. There it is, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.